Hey Rayleigh, and anybody else watching, and welcome back to another message from your father. So Joshua 7 and 8 today, and we're coming off of really three big things yesterday. So number one was that monument. So remember what I have done in bringing you across from the Jordan. And how did they remember? Well, they set up that monument with stones, one from each tribe of Israel. So that way they can teach that to their children. Beyond that, we saw circumcision. So now this people are dedicated to the Lord through circumcision. And then finally, we saw that march against Jericho and what that looked like. We saw what the people did, but also because of their obedience, what God did for them. So today, we're going to look at Achin's sin. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. Achin, I'm going to call him Achin. Achin's sin, Israel's defeat because of Achin's sin, and then also the destruction of Ai. So again, Joshua 7 and 8. So, chapter 7. But the Israelites acted unfaithfully in regard to the devoted things. Achin, son of Carmi, son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took some of them. So the Lord's anger burned against Israel. Now, Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is near Beth-aven, to the east of Bethel, and told them, "Go up and spy out the region." So the men went up and spied out Ai. When they had returned to Joshua, they said, "Not all the people will have to go up against Ai. Send 2,000 or 3,000 men to take it, and do not weary all the people, for only a few men are there." So about 3,000 men went up, but they were routed by the men of Ai, who killed about 36 of them. They chased the Israelites from the city gate as far as the stone quarries and struck them down on the slopes. At this, the hearts of the people melted and became like water. Then Joshua tore his clothes and fell face down to the ground before the ark of the Lord, remaining there till evening. The elders of Israel did the same, and sprinkled dust on their heads. And Joshua said, "Ah, sovereign Lord, why did you ever bring this people across the Jordan to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? If only we had been content to stay on the other side of the Jordan. O Lord, what can I say now that Israel has been routed by its enemies? The Canaanites and other people of this country will hear about this, and they will surround us and wipe out our name from the earth. What then will you do for your own great name?" The Lord said to Joshua, "Stand up. What are you doing down on your face? Israel has sinned. They have violated my covenant, which I commanded them to keep. They have taken some of the devoted things. They've stolen. They have lied. They have put them with their own possessions. That is why the Israelites cannot stand against their enemies. They turn their backs and run because they have been made liable to destruction. I will not be with you anymore unless you destroy whatever among you is devoted to destruction. Go, consecrate the people. Tell them, consecrate yourselves in preparation for tomorrow. For this is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says. That which is devoted is among you, O Israel. You cannot stand against your enemies until you remove it. In the morning, present yourselves tribe by tribe. The tribe that the Lord takes shall come forward clan by clan. The clan that the Lord takes shall come family by family, and the family that the Lord takes shall come forward man by man. He who is caught with the devoted things shall be destroyed by fire, along with all that belongs to him. He has violated the covenant of the Lord and has done a disgraceful thing in Israel." Early the next morning, Joshua had Israel come forward by tribes, and Judah was taken. The clans of Judah came forward, and he took the Zerahites. He had the clan of the Zerahites come forward by families, and Zimri was taken. Joshua had his family come forward man by man, and Achin, son of Carmi, the son of Zimri, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was taken. Then Joshua said to Achin, "My son, give glory to the Lord, the God of Israel, and give him praise. Tell me what you have done. Do not hide it from me." Achin replied, "It is true, I have sinned against the Lord, the God of Israel. This is what I have done. When I saw the plunder and a beautiful robe from Babylonia, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold weighing 50 shekels, I coveted them and took them. They are hidden in the ground inside my tent, with the silver underneath." So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in his tent, with the silver underneath. They took the things from his tent, brought them to Joshua and all the Israelites and spread them out before the Lord. Then Joshua, together with all Israel, took Achin, son of Zerah, the silver, the robe, the gold wedge, his sons and daughters, his cattle, donkeys, and sheep, his tent, and all that he had to the valley of Achor. Joshua said, "Why have you brought this trouble on us? The Lord will bring trouble on you today." Then all Israel stoned him, and after they had stoned the rest, they burned them. Over Achin they heaped up a large pile of rocks, which remains to this day. Then the Lord turned from his fierce anger. Therefore that place has been called the Valley of Achor ever since. Chapter 8. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. Take the whole army with you, and go up and attack Ai, for I have delivered into your hands the king of Ai, his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and his king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may carry off their plunder and livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush behind the city." So Joshua and the whole army moved out to attack Ai. He chose 30,000 of his best fighting men and sent them out at night with these orders: "Listen carefully. You are to set an ambush behind the city. Don't go very far from it. All of you have been alert, and I and all those with me will advance on the city. And when the men come out against us, as they did before, we will flee from them. They will pursue us until we have lured them away from the city, for they will say, 'They are running away from us,' as they did before. So, when we flee from them, you are to rise up from ambush and take the city. The Lord your God will give it into your hand. When you have taken the city, set it on fire. Do what the Lord has commanded. See to it, you have my orders." Then Joshua sent them off. And they went to the place of ambush and lay in wait between Bethel and Ai, to the west of Ai. But Joshua spent that night with the people. Early the next morning Joshua mustered his men, and he and the elders of Israel marched before them to Ai. The entire force that was with him marched up and approached the city and arrived in front of it. They set up camp north of Ai, with the valley between them and the city. Joshua had taken about 5,000 men and set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai, to the west of the city. They had the soldiers take up their positions, all those in the camp to the north of the city, and the ambush to the west of it. That night Joshua went into the valley. When the king of Ai saw this, he and all the men of the city hurried out early in the morning to meet Israel at battle at a certain place overlooking the Arabah, but he did not know that an ambush had been set against him behind the city. Joshua and all Israel let themselves be driven back before them, and they fled towards the desert. All the men of Ai were called to pursue them, and they pursued Joshua and were lured away from the city. Not a man remained in Ai or Bethel who did not go after Israel. They left the city open and went in pursuit of Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Hold out towards Ai the javelin that is in your hand, for into your hand I will deliver the city." So Joshua held his javelin towards Ai. As soon as he did this, the men in ambush rose quickly from their position and rushed forward. They entered the city and captured it and quickly set it on fire. The men of Ai looked back and saw the smoke of the city rising again against the sky, but they had no chance to escape in any direction, for the Israelites, who had been fleeing toward the desert, had turned back against their pursuers. For when Joshua and all the Israel saw the ambush had taken the city, and the smoke was going up from the city, they turned around and attacked the men of Ai. The men of the ambush also came out of the city against them, so that they were caught in the middle with the Israelites on both sides. Israel cut them down, leaving neither survivors nor fugitives, but they took the king of Ai alive and brought him to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the men of Ai, in the fields and in the desert where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, all the Israelites returned to Ai and killed those who were in it. 12,000 men and women fell that day, all the people of Ai, for Joshua did not hold back the hand that held out his javelin until he had destroyed it, all who lived in Ai. But Israel did carry off for themselves the livestock and plunder of the city, as the Lord instructed Joshua. So Joshua burned Ai and made it a permanent heap of ruins, a desolate place to this day. He hung the king of Ai on a tree and left him there until evening. At sunset, Joshua ordered them to take his body from the tree and throw it down at the entrance to the city gate. And they raised a large pile of rocks over it, which remains to this day. Then Joshua built on Mount Ebal an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites. He built it according to what was written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of uncut stones, on which no iron tool has been used. On it they offered to the Lord burnt offerings, and sacrificed fellowship offerings. There, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua copied on the stones the law of Moses, which he had written. All Israel, aliens and citizens alike, with their elders, officials, and judges, were standing on both sides of the Ark of the Covenant of the Lord, facing those who carried it, the priests, who were Levites. Half of the people stood in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had formerly commanded when he gave instructions to bless the people of Israel. Afterward, Joshua read all the words of the law, the blessings and the curses, just as it was written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and the children and the aliens who lived among them. So there were two things that I thought were really interesting from the reading today. Number one was in chapter 8, where we are looking at, was it 7? It was 7. I think that's right. It was 8. So when the family gets destroyed because of Achin's sin, that wasn't 7, because of Achin's sin, his entire family gets destroyed. And that sounded really harsh, and I was thinking about that for a while, and I was like, man, it seems kind of crazy to me that everybody else would suffer until you look at it a little bit closer. And I think that's why it's important to really look at the text, because he says that this is inside his tent, and it's underneath a rug. His family knows about this. This is in his tent, and if that's the case, then they're helping keep the secret. And that's really interesting, because that just removes that fear of the Lord from that family. Because Achin didn't fear the Lord, because he wasn't a good leader for his family, he's ruined his family. And we see that all the time. God brings judgment on this family because he has not instilled in them a healthy fear of the Lord, which is incredibly important. You see that all over the place today. People that don't fear God and people that don't have good godly parents that point their children to God, that's a big problem. And not only do those children ruin their own lives, they ruin the lives of people around them. So God brings judgment here, saying, you and your family, you're not going to poison the whole rest of my people, because I have something so much greater planned. So again, it may seem harsh at first glance, but that's worth looking into. And that actually leads right into the second thing. At the end of chapter 8, there was not a word of all that Moses had commanded that Joshua did not read to the whole assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the aliens who lived among them. And I guess that's what I'm doing here, Rayleigh. That's what I'm doing for you, is this message from your father. Hopefully you've realized by now, but that message from your father is God. That's not talking about me. I'm your dad. I get to read this stuff to you, but essentially what I'm doing is I'm allowing you to be without excuse. I'm allowing you to hear everything that God has written into his word. And we are so incredibly lucky to have that and live in a time that we do, that I can do that. There's no intermediary required between us and God except through Christ Jesus, because he has allowed us the Holy Spirit to come in. But I guess my prayer for you would be that you recognize that, and recognize who your father is and how important the words are that are coming out of his mouth. Now, yeah, absolutely, I would hope that you be obedient to me as well, but I'm incredibly fallible. I make mistakes all the time, and I'm going to try my very best because I love and care about you, but I will fail from time to time, and that is, again, my human nature. But God will not fail you, and his word is good, and it should be obeyed and revered. So that's my prayer for you, that you know and respect that as well. Anyway, know that I love you, and I'm praying for you. Anybody else watching, I appreciate you so, so much as well. And I will plan on seeing you tomorrow. Have a good one.